Hey there, welcome to episode 58 of Social Business Engine, the podcast that showcases industry thought leaders who represent modern business in action through the culture and technology of social. I'm your host, Bernie Borges of Find and Convert. Thanks for listening. On this episode, you're going to meet Luc Vezina. Luc is an experienced leader in building B2B SaaS companies. Luc is the CEO of Vanilla Forums, an award-winning provider of cloud-based forum software. And on this episode, you're going to hear about the why, the what, and the how of building a forum-based community in your business. This episode is sponsored by Cision. We've partnered with Cision to publish Social Business Journal Volume 2, a how-to guide in influencer relations. Just visit socialbusinessengine.com/Cision, spelled CISION, and download this journal to up your influencer marketing game in 2015. And now let's get to my conversation with Luc Vezina. Well, Luc, welcome to the Social Business Engine podcast.
Thanks, Bernie. It's great to be here.
Terrific. Well, Luc, let's begin with sort of the obvious. What is a forum-based branded community? Let's just begin with the what. What is it?
Okay. So your customer community would encompass all the places where your customers will interact with each other. That can be on social networks. That can be a group they set up on LinkedIn. It could be on forums like Reddit or Quora. And it might even include real-life events like conferences or meetups. Mm-hmm. A branded community is a section of your website, often a discussion forum, where your customers and brand followers can come together and interact. Interactions can be conversations, posting messages, commenting on content, and different things like that. A branded community versus the broader community that I mentioned before is that it's really fully under your control. So you control the look and feel to make everything look like your website and follow all your brand guidelines. You control the content, you set the rules, you get to moderate the conversation, you own the data, and you can integrate it into other systems and do whatever you want.
Okay, so the concept of an online forum, that's been around for a while. So what's different about the modern day branded online forum?
Yeah, so when we think about forums, we often think about the Web 1.0, and we think about the enthusiast communities where people would talk about their hobbies and things like that. But companies have started to launch forums to help their customers come together and get customer support from each other and do various things. And the difference today is really that this can integrate nicely into your website. It can look nice. It has all the developer tools to really integrate it through APIs or plugins to other systems like your CRM system. And I think that over the years, it's really become known as a really good format for those sort of long form discussions where people want to post more than just 140 characters. They want to have several sentences or paragraphs and have a back and forth discussion. And just like email or e-commerce, there was a Web 1.0 version of this sort of software. And with time, we've sort of learned a lot about usability and how to make things work a lot better. And so it's a very good format for that kind of thing that still works today.
Now, I noticed that some of these forums are public and then some are private. I was on your website at vanillaforums.com and I went over to the section where you have some showcase accounts, and one of them that appealed to me, even though I'm not a golfer, but I nonetheless clicked on the Callaway golf forum, and I just clicked through, and there I was inside the forum, and I saw people talking about different clubs that they use and the whys and the so forth, and then someone from Callaway actually chiming in with advice. So what's the difference between a public forum and a private forum? Well, okay, the difference is obvious, but why would someone be public versus private?
Well, I mean, we always recommend that if your objectives are to engage your customers and help them understand more about your customer and share best practices and those sorts of things, that you make it public. Cases where you might want a private community are really where maybe your customers are a bit sensitive about what they're talking about. They don't want just anybody to be able to see it. And sometimes it's also used for internal collaboration. So if you're using it in a way that is for a group of people that really need some privacy, you can do a private forum implementation. Most companies, though, want their forums to be public. It's great for SEO. It's great for prospective customers to come and see what's going on and to be able to discover all that content.
Okay. Well, you actually just segued into my next question. You've already listed a couple of benefits. So I'd like to give you the opportunity, Luke, to list, what are some other benefits associated with building a forum-based online community?
So one of the main benefits, and one that's maybe the easiest to quantify, is what it can do for customer support. So if you have a lot of inbound support, people are calling and sending you email, it costs you money to service all those tickets. I've seen different surveys, and you'll see people say that the average cost of taking a phone call or responding to an email can range from $8 to $100, depending on how complex and how long that interaction is. So if you can use a community like this to crowdsource some of that support, so to get customers to answer other customers' questions, you can deflect a significant amount of that volume from your contact center to the community. And with time, that community builds up and it becomes a knowledge base. So people who are searching for solutions in Google will land on your forum, they'll find a solution, and that'll save a call or an email into your contact center.
Sure. Can I just chime in? You really gave me an idea for another benefit, although I'm curious to get your thought on where this ranks from a benefit standpoint and how to quantify it, and that's customer advocacy. I can just envision even the Callaway golf example that I was looking at on your website. There's happy customers there that are talking about their experience using the product and why they're happy, and really get into specific details. So that customer advocacy benefit is an obvious one. I just don't know how you would quantify that.
Yeah, so support is one thing, but what's in it for marketers and what's in it for sales? How do they get benefit out of this community? How do they see their revenue increase because of it? And developing advocacy is definitely a big one. So in the community, people will be participating. They'll be answering questions, and they'll be helping develop that community. So why are they doing this? Well, it might just be gratitude, but usually there's some self-interest, right? They might be looking for status. They might be looking for some sort of recognition that they're an expert, and that might open career doors for them, right? For example, there are many communities where software developers are answering technical questions, and that ends up landing them a good job because they've demonstrated that they are an expert in their field. So the trick for marketers is to use the community to identify people who might be advocates, the people who are participating more, who are positive, who are happy to share a good experience or answer a technical question, and recognize those people in a way that rewards them for their participation. And that develops advocates who then feel an emotional bond with the brand and who will continue to go out there and try to promote the product for you.
Yeah, and I can also see how in some cases some of those advocates are going to become influential. So in addition to just their evangelism for a brand, because a customer could be very much an advocate or an evangelist for a brand, but not have a lot of influence. So if the brand recognizes an advocate and then sort of partners with an individual, an advocate, to help them become influential in a way that aligns with the customer's goals, they obviously have to want to partner with the brand, then that could even take it to another level of advocacy and another level of benefit to that brand.
Yeah, and a common way of recognizing those advocates and sort of helping them become influencers is through badging systems and leaderboards. So if you look at somebody's profile in the community, you'll see that they've earned expertise badges, or that they have, accumulated points for having answered a lot of questions, and so their opinions have more weight.
Okay. So the whole gamification approach is applicable here in an online forum. All right, terrific. What about internal versus public facing, like large companies that create forums for internal use? Is that also another approach that you're seeing a lot of?
We do see some of that. Internally, there are some other challenges, and sometimes forums are a good way for discussion. There's a lot of other things that people use internally, like chat software, products like Chatter or Yammer that integrate into other internal systems. But certainly for large organizations where they're interested in knowledge sharing, where they want employees to be able to exchange ideas, forums are a really good format for that. It's not that sort of ephemeral, oh, here's a quick question and I need a quick response, but more a thought out, long form discussion where people want to really put their thoughts out in a post and have time to, get comments from various other people at different times.
Mm-hmm. Luc, I want to ask you a question that I imagine you've been asked many, many times. and that is, why would a brand create their own branded online community using an external product like Vanilla Forum versus just creating a group, albeit a private group, on LinkedIn or Facebook?
Yeah, so with Facebook in particular, what we've seen is that it's very hard to get the content that you're posting seen by the people who have followed you. I think I read somewhere that organic reach on Facebook, so by organic means you're not paying for it, right? You're just putting something up is down to about 2%.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the prediction is that it'll go down to zero very soon. So while Facebook is a good way to maybe get in contact with prospective customers or perhaps new customers, it's maybe not the best place to engage them and to develop that relationship. So maybe you think about social networks as where you go out and find people, and then you bring them to your own community, and that's where you really foster those relationships.
Yeah, well, the key point there that you just said is it's your own community. It's also your proprietary. I don't know if proprietary is the right word, but it's your property as opposed to the rented land of Facebook or LinkedIn. And let's face it, they can change the rules. They can tomorrow decide that groups are handled differently, and it can have an impact on the way a brand has set up a group. So
yeah, they make the rules, and they also decide what kind of things are appropriate and not appropriate, and that can be from the privacy policy to what kind of words or images are deemed appropriate for their social network, and that might not jive with your brand image.
Right. Well, Luc, I want to segue to talk about a few examples that you and I spoke of before we started recording. But before we do that, I want to just pause for a brief message from our sponsor, Cision. Cision is widely recognized as a leader in public relations software, and we're excited to partner with Cision in Volume 2 of the Social Business Journal. In this how-to guide in influencer marketing, you'll discover a 3-step process from Cision on how to develop an influencer relations program. And you'll hear from business experts on everything from what an ideal influencer looks like to the secret sauce of penetrating the sphere of an influencer. These 21 business experts deliver bite-sized insights to give you actionable takeaways for your influencer relations strategy. To get your copy of Social Business Journal Volume 2, just go to socialbusinessengine.com/Cision, spelled CISION, Well, Luke, let's talk about a couple of examples. And as you know, we talked about a B2B example and a B2C example. So why don't you begin with that B2C example that you were talking a little bit about earlier?
All right. So one of my favorite communities is for Big Green Egg. So Big Green Egg makes barbecues. They're Komodo-style barbecues. You've probably seen them in the hardware store. It looks
Mm-hmm.
like literally like a big egg, and you put the charcoal in, and you close the top, and you can seal it in, and it makes excellent meat. So they have a very active online community. They have a very active offline community as well. But the community forum for Big Green Egg sees a post, I would say, every 2 minutes at all hours of the day. And these people are very enthusiastic about barbecuing and about using their Big Green Eggs. And to me, what this does is it gives this company a competitive advantage. This community is really a differentiator for them. When you buy that barbecue, you're not just buying the barbecue, which you could buy from another manufacturer and you could probably get it cheaper somewhere else, but you're getting an experience. You are able to not only use the product, cook the food, but you can share that with other people. And I think people really crave those shared experiences, right? I mean, when we go to a hockey game or a baseball game, we love it because we're cheering with other fans and it feels good, right? It's a very powerful emotional thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can create that kind of emotion around a consumer product, I think that that gives you a real advantage over your competitors and maybe even the ability to get a better margin, to charge more for your product. If you buy the competitor's product, sure, you can barbecue the meat, but you don't get to share with that community of others who are also enthusiastic about barbecue.
Yeah, and I think if I can just add to that, if I'm in the market for a new barbecue and I am looking at different manufacturers, and a manufacturer like Big Green Egg has a public forum, and I can just jump into the forum and I can see what people are talking about, and I can see that the customers there are enthusiastic and happy and really helping each other. That really bodes well for that brand versus another brand. If they don't have a forum that doesn't give me that online experience, then I have less information about another brand that I might be considering versus a brand like Big Green Egg.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, this is the age of show me, don't tell me, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
marketing messages are great, but I want to see it for myself and I want social proof. So the community gives people that social proof that it's not only a good product, but a good experience.
Yeah. This also reminds me of Google's zero moment of truth, where Google's research, which is a few years old now, I don't even know if it's been updated recently, really speaks to the fact that the zero moment of truth is when we go online and how consumers, when the research was published a few years ago, consumers are accessing on average, I think it's 10 or 11 pieces of information online before they make a decision about a brand. And again, we're doing that online. So in this example, someone that visits the Big Green Egg forum is can be influenced by that. So, all right, so that's a terrific B2C example. So everybody listening who might be hungry right now might be going to the Big Green Egg website and the forums and all that. And I think you have a link from your website as well to that forum. How about a B2B example?
Sure. So you might think, well, consumer product, people are enthusiastic about it. Barbecues are fun, but what about a company that does something that's less fun? So one of our case studies on our website is a company called ShipStation, and they provide software for e-merchants, so people who are selling goods on their online stores or on eBay and other e-commerce platforms. And so, what does a community do for them? Well, it helps with the customer service thing, the technical support that I was talking about earlier, but it also helps their customers exchange best practices. So if I can get more out of the product because other customers are sharing their best practices and sharing tips and tricks, then it adds more value to the product. It might also if you're a B2B company, help with loyalty and reduce churn. If I'm getting more out of this because of the advice I'm getting from other customers and that connection, then I see a better ROI for myself buying this product. And that's what ShipStation was after. They wanted a way to engage their customers, help them share best practices, and they implemented an interesting gamification plan where they give people ranks based on their participation, so they can earn points and they can get badges, but they also give them more tangible rewards, so that can include discounts and other perks like that.
And it's a public forum?
Yes, I believe it is. It's public, and all their customers can log in. Now, in B2B cases, often it's public, but you can't log in and participate unless you're a customer. That's sometimes something that they put in place.
Right. Okay. And do you know if the gamification aspect of what they're doing has been a real contributor to the business benefit of their forum?
I definitely think so. I mean, they tell us that they have seen a lot of participation since they implemented this, and they attribute that to people being motivated by earning those points and getting those rewards.
And Luc, I'm looking at the case study that's accessible from your website, and there's a nice infographic style image here that I'm going to make sure we get into the show notes here that actually shows the different rankings and I guess it's badges that are available. So it's a good example of how a brand is using the gamification. And I'm always a little biased toward B2B just because my agency is focused on B2B. Plus, there are usually fewer B2B examples of just about anything in social business as compared to B2C examples. So rest assured that we'll include that image, that visual from your case study on ShipStation.
Great.
So, Luc, let's segue to my one thing question. And this is where I ask you, if there's any one thing that you could change about the way that business is conducted today, what would that be?
So for me, this would be, I would encourage companies to move more towards openness and transparency. The social web has really changed things. You know, you can't hide behind your four walls. You can't do customer service by phone and keep it a secret from everybody anymore. I mean, the web has really blown everything open, and I think that business should embrace this, right, and not resist it. Transparency to me means not just doing customer support out in the open, but customer reviews and service status. Like if your ISP goes down, it's nice if they have a page and they have exactly what's going on and showing what services are down and when they expect them to be up, and other things like this, right? As business people, we're in a competitive environment, and we have this instinct to sometimes want to hide things because we don't want our competitors to use them against us, or we don't want to scare away a customer. But I think if it's done right, being open can be a big asset to a business and a differentiator.
So okay, what I want to interject with, I totally agree with you. I love that. And so, but how does an organization do that at different levels? You know, you're the CEO of a SaaS company, so you get it. What about other companies where maybe that's not something that the C-suite is embracing, but in many other parts of the organization, they're perhaps behaving openly and transparently, but it's not really coming from the C-suite.
That's definitely a challenge, and a lot of this stuff is new, especially when you're talking about a customer community. I mean, a lot of companies don't even know where this lives. Is this a marketing initiative? Is it a customer support initiative? Is it cross-functional? So I think that it's got to start somewhere, and wherever it starts, it's better than it not getting going at all. And then it needs to be in line with overall business objectives, and if all of the benefits, not just to one department, are communicated to the C-suite, then people will get on board And these initiatives might start as pilots, but then blossom into a new way of doing business as the tangible ROI starts to be shown.
Yep. Okay. So transparency, openness, just embracing the modern age, what I call, and I'm not the only one who calls it, a social business, an organization that really embraces both the culture and the technology. And I really think you're speaking to the culture there, Luc, is, embracing the culture of social, which inherently is open and transparent.
Yeah, and there's nothing greater than when we help a customer launch a community and we see that there was pent-up demand for this. We launched one a few weeks ago, and within a few hours, there were already a couple thousand comments, and that's really good to see. And sometimes it takes somebody who's courageous to get that out there, and then when the activity floods in, people's eyes are open to what it can do.
Mm-hmm. I hope that person got a promotion. Because I think what you just described is an example, like you said, pent-up demand for this conversation. And, there's the negative side to it too, which is not a bad thing. And that's if people are talking poorly about your brand, you'd rather know about it and engage in that conversation than completely ignore it.
That's right. And, often on social media, you'll see a complaint, right? Well, I feel like if it's in the context of a community of people who've come together because they share a common interest, they want you to succeed, right? You are their vendor. They want you to succeed. It's a mutual, relationship where if both parties succeed, everybody's happy. And I think that sometimes doing it in a branded community, it tempers some of those people who might, fly off the handle, to use an expression on social media, and just complain. As businesses, we want to solve problems. We want actionable issues. We don't want complaints, right? If the complaints, can be solved, then we want to follow up and we want to be able to do what's right.
Yep. Terrific. Well, that's an outstanding thing that we want in business. And Luc, thank you so much for sharing that. So before I segue to my close, Luc, where can people connect with you online and learn more about Vanilla Software?
So a good place to connect with me is LinkedIn. I'm always happy to accept invitations and answer messages. And to find out about Vanilla, vanillaforums.com is our website.
Terrific. Well, Luc Vezina, CEO of Vanilla Forums, thank you so much for joining me here today on the Social Business Engine podcast and sharing your wisdom on this topic of branded online forums.
Thank you.
Well, as everyone knows, I will have a link in the show notes to everything that we discussed here today. And my regular listeners know that that's available at socialbusinessengine.com/podcasts. And of course, remember to get your digital copy of Social Business Journal Volume 2. You can't miss it when you go there. It is a how-to guide in influencer marketing, and we produced it in cooperation with Cision. And again, that's right at the homepage, or just go directly to socialbusinessengine.com/Cision. And remember to visit our video channel where you can catch interviews with other inspiring business professionals who are succeeding in modern business through social. And if you enjoy this podcast, I would be very grateful if you would write a review in iTunes. To make that easy, we have a page set up at socialbusinessengine.com/iTunes that has a link directly to this podcast. Until next time, this is Bernie Borges of Find and Convert, wishing you continued success on your social business journey.